This is the PDP Replay Wireless Controller, and it promises to be the ultimate gamepad for Samsung Gaming Hub. But here's what surprised me. I spent weeks testing it, and found it's not the perfect solution you think it is. Therefore, you need to hear this honest review before you spend your money. Because I'm going to reveal the real problems you'll face, and trust me, they are significant, which means this review will save you from buyer's regret. So, for the best price, click the link in the description. Welcome to the deep dive where we get brutally honest about this controller's performance, starting with a big positive: it's officially licensed by Samsung, and part of the Design for Samsung Gaming Hub program. But that's mostly marketing. Therefore, let's talk about the actual two-in-one functionality, which combines a remote and a gamepad for your TV. However, the remote features are basic with minimal buttons, meaning you'll still need your original remote for complex settings, so the unification promise is half-baked. But what about the core gaming experience? The controller feels decent in the hands, with laser-etched textures on grips and analog sticks, which provide good grip. Therefore, your hands won't sweat during long sessions. However, here's the first joke: imagine if the textures were so aggressive they could etch your fingerprints off. That's not the case, thankfully. Now let's address the celebrated 40-hour battery life from its built-in rechargeable battery. But during my testing, I found the battery indicator on the controller is non-existent. Therefore, you never know when it's about to die, which is a huge oversight for a wireless device, meaning you could be mid-game in a tense battle and suddenly lose connection. A truly terrifying gaming moment. But the 30-foot Bluetooth wireless connection is generally stable within that range. However, if you have a large living room with obstacles, the connection can stutter. Therefore, your competitive edge can literally vanish in a lag spike, which ties into the programmable back buttons. They are a nice feature for mapping complex actions, but the software to program them is not intuitive, and the process is frustrating, meaning that competitive edge requires a patience you might not have. Speaking of buttons, the one-of-a-kind Gaming Hub home button is a nice touch for quick access, but the circular D-pad for rapid-fire audio adjustments is poorly implemented. Therefore, adjusting volume during a game is clunky, and the mute button placement is awkward, so you might mute yourself accidentally during a crucial team chat moment. Which brings me to the second joke: adjusting volume with this D-pad feels like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube with your thumbs. While blindfolded, it's not a smooth experience. Now, compatibility is a major point. It works across select 2022, 2023, 2024 Samsung Smart TVs monitors, and the Freestyle 2nd Gen with Gaming Hub. But that select word is crucial. Therefore, if you have an older Samsung TV or a non-Samsung TV, this controller is useless to you, meaning this device is for a very specific ecosystem. And if you're outside it, this review is your warning sign. But even within that ecosystem, the performance varies on different models. However, the controller does eliminate the need for multiple devices on your TV stand, which is a clean setup benefit. Therefore, your living room looks less cluttered. But is that worth $50? Let's talk about the Amazon rating of 4.2 stars, which seems high. But I analyzed the top reviews, and many highlight the same issues I found. Therefore, the positive score is inflated by the novelty and the Samsung branding, meaning the actual user experience has consistent flaws, which we are detailing now, so you get a balanced view. But one major problem not mentioned enough is the build quality. For a $50 controller, it feels light and somewhat cheap in certain parts. Therefore, the durability over time is a concern, especially with those programmable back buttons, which have a fragile clickiness, meaning this might not survive a rage quit moment. And here's the third joke: this controller feels so light it might qualify as a helium balloon accessory, not exactly premium. The core function is gaming on Samsung Gaming Hub, and for cloud gaming it performs adequately. But the latency sensitivity depends entirely on your internet connection. Therefore, the controller itself can't fix cloud gaming lag, meaning if you have poor Wi-Fi, this becomes a frustrating experience, regardless of the device's features. However, the form factor is good for casual gaming sessions. But for serious competitive play, the lack of advanced features like trigger stops or swappable components is a drawback. Therefore, this is a mid-tier controller for a mid-tier price, Which brings us to the value proposition at $49. It's not cheap, but is it worth it? Considering the problems we've outlined, the 2-in-1 functionality is limited, the audio controls are bad, the battery indicator is missing, and the build feels cheap, therefore the value is questionable. Unless you are a dedicated Samsung gaming hub user with a compatible 2022 Plus TV who desperately wants a unified remote and controller. But even for that user, the experience is flawed, meaning you are trading convenience for several functional headaches. So what's the resolution after all this testing? Here's my final verdict. The PDP Replay Wireless is a niche product with a good idea, but poor execution, therefore I cannot recommend it for most gamers. However, if you are the specific Samsung user described, and you accept its flaws, it can serve a purpose. But you must lower your expectations significantly, meaning don't expect a premium Xbox or PlayStation controller experience. This is a compromised device for a specific ecosystem. And here's the fourth joke: buying this controller feels like ordering a gourmet burger but receiving a sandwich with the patty missing. You get the idea, but not the full, satisfying experience. Therefore, after this honest review of the PDP Replay Wireless and its problems, my advice is to look at other universal Bluetooth controllers or stick with your standard remote and a separate gamepad, unless you are fully committed to the Samsung gaming hub lifestyle with all its limitations. And for those still interested in checking the current price or purchasing, you can find the best deal on Amazon by clicking the link in the description below. Thanks for watching this honest review, and I hope it saved you from a problematic purchase.